The vast emptiness of space stretched out before Captain Elara Chen as she stood on the bridge of the Earth spaceship Odyssey. The gentle hum of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of consoles created a comforting background noise, a stark contrast to the silent void outside. Elara's dark eyes, flecked with gold, scanned the holographic displays surrounding her, each one offering a wealth of information about their current mission. "Status report," she commanded, her voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of anticipation. Lieutenant Raj Patel, the ship's navigation officer, swiveled in his chair to face her. "We're approaching the outer reaches of the Proxima Centauri system, Captain. All systems nominal." Elara nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. The Odyssey was humanity's most advanced exploration vessel, built to push the boundaries of known space. This mission marked the farthest humans had ever ventured from Earth, and the weight of that responsibility sat heavily on Elara's shoulders. "Dr. Yamamoto," Elara called out, addressing the ship's chief scientist. "Any unusual readings?" Dr. Akiko Yamamoto, a brilliant astrophysicist with a shock of prematurely grey hair, shook her head. "Nothing out of the ordinary, Captain. Just the usual background radiation and—" She stopped abruptly, her eyes widening as she stared at her console. "Wait, I'm picking up something unusual." Elara was at her side in an instant, peering over Akiko's shoulder at the complex data scrolling across the screen. "Define unusual, Doctor." Akiko's fingers flew over the holographic interface, isolating and magnifying a particular signal. It's not natural, Captain. This is an artificial signal, and it's not one of ours." The bridge fell silent as the implications of Akiko's words sank in. Elara felt her heart rate quicken, but years of training kept her voice steady. "Are you saying we've just detected evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence?" Akiko nodded, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Yes, Captain, and there's more. The signal, it appears to be a distress call." Elara straightened, her mind racing through protocols and possibilities. This was the moment they had trained for, the reason the Odyssey had been launched into the depths of space. First contact, but a distress call, that complicated matters. "Lieutenant Patel, plot a course to the origin of that signal," Elara ordered. "Dr. Yamamoto, I want every scrap of data you can pull from that transmission. And someone wake up our linguists. I have a feeling we're going to need them." As the crew sprang into action, Elara made her way to the ship's communication array. "This is Captain Chen to all hands," she announced, her voice echoing through every compartment of the Odyssey. "We have detected an artificial signal of non-human origin. We are moving to investigate. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Prepare for potential first contact scenarios." The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the Odyssey closed in on the source of the mysterious signal. Elara pored over reports, consulted with her officers, and ran through every first contact protocol in the book. As they approached their destination, a tense silence fell over the bridge. "Visual range in 30 seconds, Captain," Raj reported, his voice barely above a whisper. Elara nodded, her gaze fixed on the main view screen. "Put it up as soon as we have a clear image." The seconds ticked by, feeling like an eternity. Then suddenly, the view screen flickered to life, and collective gasps filled the bridge. Before them floated a massive ship, easily 3 times the size of the Odyssey. Its design was like nothing they had ever seen. Organic curves blended seamlessly with crystalline structures, creating an aesthetic that was both beautiful and utterly alien. But what caught Elara's attention was the obvious damage to the vessel's hull. Scorch marks and gaping holes marred its surface, and a faint, pulsing light emanated from its core, matching the rhythm of the distress signal. "Life signs?" Elara asked, her eyes never leaving the screen. The ship's medical officer, Dr. Elena Rossi, consulted her readings. "Affirmative, Captain. I'm detecting multiple life forms aboard, but their biosignatures are, well, they're definitely not human." Elara took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. This was it. The moment that would change human history forever. "Hail them," she ordered. Communications officer Zara Wong nodded, her fingers dancing over her console. "Channel open, Captain." Elara stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "This is Captain Elara Chen of the Earth vessel Odyssey. We've received your distress call and are here to offer assistance. Do you read us?" For a long moment, there was nothing but static. Then, a sound unlike anything they had ever heard filled the bridge. It was a language, but one so foreign, so utterly alien, that it defied description. Clicks, whistles, and harmonics blended together in a symphony of otherworldly communication. "Computer," Elara called out, "begin linguistic analysis and attempt translation." As the ship's AI worked to decipher the alien language, the view screen suddenly changed. The image of the damaged ship was replaced by a face, if it could be called a face. Multiple eyes, arranged in a pattern reminiscent of a spider's, blinked at them. A mouth-like orifice opened and closed, emitting more of the complex vocalizations. Elara forced herself not to recoil, reminding herself that to these beings, humans probably looked just as strange. She smiled, hoping the gesture would be understood as friendly across species lines, and waited for the translation to begin. Slowly, haltingly, words began to form amidst the alien sounds. Gratitude, danger, help. "We're here to help," Elara said clearly, gesturing to herself and her crew. "Can you tell us what happened to your ship?" More sounds, more attempts at translation. "Attacked, Void Collective, barely escaped." Elara frowned. Void Collective. Another alien species. A rival faction. There was so much they didn't know, but one thing was clear. These beings needed help, and they were in a position to provide it. "We're going to send a team to your ship," Elara said, miming the action of moving from one place to another. "Is that acceptable?" There was a pause, then what sounded like an affirmative response. Elara turned to her crew. "Dr. Rossi, prepare a medical team. Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, assemble a security detail. Full containment protocols. We don't know what we're dealing with here." As her officers moved to carry out her orders, Elara felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to meet an alien species face to face, to step foot on an extraterrestrial vessel. It was everything they had dreamed of, everything they had feared. "Captain," Zara called out, her voice tight with concern. "I'm picking up another signal. It's massive, and it's heading this way fast." Elara's blood ran cold. "Origin?" Zara shook her head. "Unknown, but it's not like anything in our database. And Captain, it's not broadcasting any identification signals." The implications were clear. Whatever was coming, it wasn't friendly. Elara made a split-second decision. "Rage, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Zara, inform our new friends that we've got company. Tell them to prepare for immediate evacuation if necessary." As the crew scrambled to respond to the new threat, Elara stared at the alien face still visible on the view screen. Those multiple eyes blinked at her, filled with what she could only interpret as fear and hope. In that moment, despite the vast differences between their species, Elara felt a profound connection. "We're not going anywhere," she said firmly, hoping the emotion in her voice would transcend the barriers of language. "Whatever's coming, we'll face it together." The alien being made a sound that needed no translation, gratitude, pure and simple. As alarms began to blare throughout the Odyssey, signaling the approach of the unknown vessel, Elara Chen steeled herself for what was to come. Humanity's first contact with alien life had just become a baptism by fire, and the fate of two species now rested in her hands. The bridge of the Odyssey erupted into controlled chaos as the crew prepared for the approaching threat. Elara's mind raced, weighing options and potential outcomes. They were vastly outgunned, facing an unknown enemy in uncharted space. But they also had a responsibility, not just to themselves and to Earth, but to the alien beings they had just encountered. Status on the incoming vessel, Ilara demanded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Lieutenant Commander Maria Ortiz, the ship's tactical officer, reported grimly. Massive energy readings, Captain. Whatever it is, it's got firepower that makes us look like a tugboat. ETA 3 minutes. Ilara nodded, her decision made. Rage, position us between the alien ship and the incoming vessel. Zara, open a channel to our new friends. Tell them to power up their engines if they can. We're going to buy them time to escape. As her orders were carried out, Ilara felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. She was potentially risking the lives of her crew, the only human lives is far from Earth, to protect an alien species they had just met. But in her heart, she knew it was the right call. This was what humanity stood for: compassion, bravery, the willingness to stand up for those who couldn't defend themselves. The alien vessel's response came quickly, a mixture of gratitude and concern, clear even through the rudimentary translation. They were powering up their engines, but the damage to their ship was severe. They needed time. Incoming transmission from the approaching vessel, Zara announced, her voice tense. Ilara straightened her uniform. On screen. The view screen flickered, and Ilara felt her breath catch in her throat. The being that appeared before them was utterly alien, even more so than their new allies. It appeared to be composed of shifting darkness, with points of light like distant stars scattered throughout its form. When it spoke, its voice was deep and resonant, sending chills down Ilara's spine. Insignificant vessel, the being intoned, the words somehow perfectly translated. You harbor fugitives from the justice of the Void Collective. Stand aside or be destroyed. Ilara's mind raced. The Void Collective, the same name that alien allies had mentioned. Clearly, they were dealing with a much larger conflict than they had initially realized. But she didn't waver. This is Captain Ilara Chen of the Earth ship Odyssey, she responded, her voice steady. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. The vessel you're pursuing has requested our aid, and under interstellar law, we are obligated to provide it. A sound that might have been laughter emanated from the Void Collective being. Interstellar law? You speak of things you do not understand, little one. This is your final warning. Stand aside, or share their fate. The transmission cut off abruptly. Ilara turned to her crew, seeing a mixture of fear and determination on their faces. Battle stations, she ordered. All hands, prepare for combat. This is not a drill. As klaxons blared throughout the ship, Ilara's mind whirled with possibilities. They were outgunned and out of their depth, but they had one advantage, the element of surprise. The Void Collective clearly didn't expect resistance from an unknown species. Dr. Yamamoto, Ilara called out. What can you tell me about the Void Collective ship's energy signature? Hakiko's fingers flew over her console. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, Captain. The energy output is off the charts, but there are fluctuations. Almost like it's not entirely stable. A plan began to form in Ilara's mind. It was risky, potentially suicidal, but it might just work. Rage on my mark, I want you to execute a series of random, unpredictable maneuvers. Get us as close to that ship as you can. Maria, charge up our EM pulse generators to maximum. We're going to give them a taste of human ingenuity. As the massive Void Collective ship loomed ever closer, dwarfing both the Odyssey and the damaged alien vessel, Ilara felt a strange calm settle over her. This was what humans did best, facing impossible odds with creativity and determination. Now, Raj, Ilara shouted. The Odyssey leaped into action, darting and weaving in a pattern that defied prediction. The Void Collective ship, caught off guard by the small vessel's audacity, fired massive energy weapons that sizzled past the Odyssey's hull, missing by mere meters. Maria, fire the EM pulse on my mark, Ilara ordered, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. They had one shot at this. If she was wrong about the Void Collective ship's energy instability, They were all dead. The Odyssey screamed through space, closing the distance to the massive alien ship. Ilara could see the tension on her crew's faces, feel the vibrations of near misses shuddering through the hull. "Now," Ilara yelled. A blinding pulse of electromagnetic energy erupted from the Odyssey, enveloping the void collective ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a string of dominoes falling, systems across the massive vessel began to fail. Its weapons powered down, its shields flickered and died. It worked. Akiko breathed, staring at her readings in disbelief. "Captain, their primary systems are offline. They're dead in the water." A cheer went up from the crew, but Ilara knew they weren't out of danger yet. "Zara, hail our allies. Tell them to move now. Raj, get us out of here, maximum speed." As the Odyssey and the damaged alien ship fled the scene, leaving the temporarily crippled Void Collective vessel behind, Ilara allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. Against all odds, they had stood their ground and emerged victorious. But as the adrenaline of the moment faded, Ilara knew that this was just the beginning. There the Odyssey glided through space, its hull still bearing the scorch marks from their narrow escape. Beside it, the alien vessel limped along, its own damages far more severe. Captain Ilara Chen stood at the viewport, her eyes fixed on the stars streaking by as they traveled at maximum speed, putting as much distance as possible between themselves and the Void Collective ship they had managed to disable. "Captain," Zara's voice broke the tense silence on the bridge. "Ah, allies are hailing us." Ilara nodded, turning away from the viewport. On screen, the alien face appeared once more, its multiple eyes blinking in what Ilara was beginning to recognize as a sign of respect. The translation software, having had more time to analyze the alien language, was working much more smoothly now. "Captain Chen," the alien's melodious voice came through clearly. "We owe you a debt that can never be repaid. I am Ambassador Clara of the Zarkonian Confederation. We request permission to dock with your vessel for urgent discussions." Ilara raised an eyebrow. The alien ship was easily large enough to accommodate the entire crew of the Odyssey, yet they were requesting to come aboard. It was a gesture of trust, one that Ilara couldn't ignore. "Permission granted, Ambassador Clara," Ilara replied. "We'll prepare our docking bay to receive you." As the communication ended, Ilara turned to her crew. "Well, it looks like we're about to get some answers. Dr. Rossi, prepare a full medical team. Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, I want a security detail, but keep it discreet. We're welcoming guests, not prisoners." The next hour was a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for their first face-to-face encounter with the Zarkonians. Ilara stood in the docking bay, flanked by her senior officers, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The airlock hissed open, and 3 figures stepped through. Ilara had to consciously keep her jaw from dropping. The Zarkonians were even more alien up close. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies were covered in iridescent scales that seemed to shift color with every movement. Their multiple eyes, set in what Ilara assumed was their face, moved independently, taking in every detail of their surroundings. Ambassador Clara stepped forward, making a gesture that involved intertwining their long, multi-jointed fingers. "Captain Chen," the translator in Ilara's ear converted the clicks and whistles into English. "On behalf of the Zarkonian people, I thank you for your bravery and compassion." Ilara returned the gesture as best she could with her human hands. "Ambassador Clara, welcome aboard the Odyssey. We have much to discuss." As they made their way to the ship's conference room, Ilara couldn't help but notice the way the Zarkonians moved, their bodies undulating in a way that seemed to defy gravity. It was a stark reminder of just how different their species were. Once seated in the conference room, with the senior staff of the Odyssey gathered around, Ambassador Clara began to speak. "Captain Chen, your arrival could not have been more fortuitous. The galaxy as we know it stands on the brink of annihilation." Ilara leaned forward, her brow furrowed. The Void Collective. Clara's eyes blinked in rapid succession, a gesture Elara was beginning to associate with strong emotion. Yes, they are, not like us, not like you. They are beings of pure energy, consumed by a desire to convert all matter in the universe to their form of existence. Dr. Yamamoto, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Convert matter to energy, but that would mean the end of all physical life as we know it, Clara finished. For centuries, a Zarkonian confederation has stood as a bulwark against the Void Collective's expansion, but we are losing ground. The ship you rescued was part of a diplomatic mission, seeking new allies in our fight. Elara sat back, her mind reeling from the implications. They had stumbled into a war, one with stakes higher than anything humanity had ever faced. Ambassador, while we're grateful for your trust in sharing this information, we're just one ship. We don't have the authority to commit Earth to a galactic conflict. Clara's body rippled, a motion that the translator interpreted as a sigh. We understand, Captain, but there is more. In our studies of the Void Collective, we discovered references to an ancient artifact, one of unimaginable power. We believe it could be the key to defeating them once and for all. And let me guess, Lieutenant Commander Ortiz interjected, her voice tinged with sarcasm. You need our help to find it. Clara's eyes swiveled to focus on Ortiz. No, Lieutenant Commander. We need your help, because we believe the artifact is somehow connected to your species. A stunned silence fell over the room. Elara's mind raced, trying to process this new information. Connected to humans, but how? We've only just achieved interstellar travel. Clara produced a small device, placing it on the conference table. A holographic image sprang to life, showing a series of complex equations and diagrams. Our scientists have been studying the artifact's energy signature for decades. Recently, we made a breakthrough in decoding part of its structure. The base genetic code embedded in the artifact's matrix. It's a partial match for human DNA. Dr. Rossi leaned in, her eyes wide as she examined the hologram. That's impossible. The chances of an alien artifact containing human genetic markers are astronomical, Clara finished. Yet here we are. Captain Chen, we believe that humanity may be the key to unlocking the artifact's power, and with that power, we might finally have a chance at defeating the Void Collective. Elara stood, pacing the length of the conference room as she considered their options. They were far from Earth, with no way to contact home for instructions. The fate of not just humanity, but all life in the galaxy, potentially rested on their decision. She turned to face Clara and her crew. Ambassador, what you're asking, it goes far beyond our mission parameters. But if what you're saying is true, we can't ignore it. We'll help you find this artifact. A ripple of excitement passed through the Zarkonians, their scales shimmering with intensity. Clara bowed deeply. Thank you, Captain. You honor us with your courage. As the meeting adjourned and plans began to form, Elara pulled Dr. Yamamoto aside. Akiko, I need you to work with the Zarkonian scientists. If this artifact really is connected to humanity somehow, I want to know everything about it. Akiko nodded, her eyes gleaming with the prospect of groundbreaking scientific discovery. I'm on it, Captain. Over the next few days, as the Odyssey and the Zarkonian ship made their way deeper into uncharted space, Elara found herself spending more and more time with Ambassador Clara. Despite their physical differences, she found the alien diplomat to be thoughtful and even humorous in their own way. Your species continues to fascinate me, Captain, Clara said one evening as they shared a meal in Elara's quarters. The Zarkonian was sampling various Earth foods, their multiple eyes widening with each new taste. You face the unknown with such enthusiasm. Elara smiled, watching as Clara attempted to manipulate a fork with their long, sinuous fingers. It's in our nature, I suppose. Humans have always been explorers at heart. Clara made a sound that the translator interpreted as a chuckle. Perhaps that is why the artifact chose your species. You have an adaptability that we Zarkonians sometimes lack. As they continued to talk, Ilara felt a growing sense of camaraderie with the alien ambassador. Despite the vast differences between their species, there was a shared sense of purpose, a mutual understanding of the enormity of the task before them. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. "Captain Chen to the bridge immediately," Zara's voice came through, tense with urgency. Ilara and Clara rushed to the bridge, where they found the crew gathered around the main view screen. On it, a massive structure loomed against the backdrop of space, its design a mind-bending mix of geometric precision and organic fluidity. "What are we looking at?" Ilara demanded, her eyes fixed on the impossible structure. Dr. Yamamoto turned, her face pale with excitement and fear. "Captain, Ambassador, I think we found it, the artifact." Clara's body went rigid, all eyes focused intently on the screen. By the eternal stars, they whispered, "It's real." As they stared at the massive artifact, its surface seeming to shift and change before their eyes, Ilara felt a strange sensation wash over her. It was as if the artifact was calling to her, reaching out across the vast emptiness of space to touch something deep within her very being. "Captain," Rage's voice broke through her reverie. "Your orders." Ilara straightened, pushing aside the strange feelings and focusing on the task at hand. "Prepare an away team. It's time we got some answers." As the crew scrambled to prepare for their expedition to the artifact, Ilara couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. Whatever secrets this ancient structure held, whatever connection it had to humanity, she knew that uncovering them would change the course of history for both their species. The artifact loomed before them, a silent sentinel holding the key to the galaxy's future. And as the Odyssey moved closer, its human crew and Zarkonian allies working side by side, Ilara Chen knew that they were about to embark on the most important mission of their lives. The fate of all life in the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity's first steps into the cosmic community would be a trial by fire. Race against time. The away team from the Odyssey approached the massive artifact that a small shuttle dwarfed by its immense scale. Captain Ilara Chen led the group, accompanied by Dr. Yamamoto, Lieutenant Commander Ortiz, and two Zarkonian scientists, including Clara. As they neared the structure, Ilara felt that strange pull again stronger now. "Are you picking up any energy readings, Akiko?" she asked, trying to focus on the mission. Dr. Yamamoto nodded, her eyes glued to her instruments. "Massive energy fluctuations, Captain. Unlike anything I've ever seen. It's almost as if the artifact is alive." Their shuttle docked with the artifact, the team stepping out into corridors that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Glowing symbols lined the walls, pulsing with an inner light. "These symbols," Clara whispered, their multiple eyes wide with wonder. "They're similar to the ones we found in our ancient texts about the artifact." As they ventured deeper into the structure, Ilara felt an increasing sense of familiarity. Somehow, she knew where to go, which corridors to take. The others followed her lead, trusting her instincts. Finally, they reached a vast chamber at the heart of the artifact. In its center floated a pulsing orb of energy, tendrils of light reaching out like living things. "This is it," Ilara breathed. "The source of the artifact's power." As she stepped towards the orb, the chamber came alive. Holographic displays sprang up around them, showing images of Earth, of human history, and of cosmic events beyond their understanding. It's telling our story," Dr. Yamamoto gasped. "Humanity's story." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the artifact. Clara's communication device crackled to life. "Ambassador, Void Collective ships approaching. They found us." Ilara's mind raced. They were out of time. Without fully understanding what she was doing, she reached out towards the pulsing orb. As her hand made contact, energy surged through her body. Knowledge, power, understanding, it all flooded into her mind in an instant. She turned to her stunned companions, her eyes glowing with newfound power. "I understand now," she said, her voice resonating with authority. "This artifact, it was created by an ancient race. They seeded Earth with the potential for humanity, knowing that one day we would be needed." "Needed for what?" Ortiz asked, her hand hovering over her weapon. "To bring balance," Elara replied. "The Void Collective, the physical universe, they're two halves of a whole, but the balance has been disrupted. We're the key to restoring it." As the Void Collective ships closed in, Elara raised her hands. The artifact hummed with power, responding to her will. "It's time to end this war," she declared, "and begin a new chapter for all life in the galaxy." With a blinding flash of light, the power of the artifact surged outward, enveloping the approaching Void Collective fleet. But instead of destroying them, it transformed them, rewriting the very fabric of their existence. When the light faded, the Void Collective ships remained, but they were changed, no longer beings of pure destructive energy, but a new form of life that bridged the gap between energy and matter. As understanding dawned on both the humans and Zarkonians, Elara smiled. "This was always the plan," she said softly. "Not to destroy, but to evolve, to bring all life in the galaxy together in harmony." The artifact's power faded, its purpose fulfilled, but the changes it had wrought would reshape the galaxy forever. As Elara looked at her companions, human, Zarkonian, and now the transformed Void Collective, she knew that this was just the beginning of a grand new adventure for all species. The threat was over, but humanity's journey into the cosmic community had only just begun. In the days following the transformation of the Void Collective, the galaxy was abuzz with activity. The Odyssey, now joined by ships from Earth, the Zarkonian Confederation, and the newly peaceful Void Collective, orbited the ancient artifact. Captain Elara Chen stood on the bridge of the Odyssey, watching as delegations from dozens of species arrived to discuss the new galactic order. The power she had briefly wielded was gone, but the knowledge remained. "It's quite a sight, isn't it?" Ambassador Clara said, joining her at the viewport. Elara nodded. "I never imagined first contact would lead to this." Dr. Yamamoto approached, her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, the scientific opportunities here are endless. The artifact's technology, the Void Collective's new form of existence, we're rewriting the laws of physics." As they spoke, a communication came through. It was Admiral Johnson from Earth Command. "Captain Chen," he said, his voice filled with pride. "On behalf of humanity, I want to thank you and your crew. You've opened up a new chapter in human history." Elara smiled. "Thank you, Admiral, but this is just the beginning." New horizons. 5 years later, the galaxy had changed dramatically. Earth had become a hub of interstellar diplomacy, with representatives from hundreds of species working together to build a new galactic community. The Odyssey, now upgraded with technology from various alien species, prepared for another mission of exploration. Captain Chen, about to embark on this new journey, stood in the ship's arboretum with Clara, who had become Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. "Are you ready for another adventure, Elara?" Clara asked, using the human's first name, a sign of their deepened friendship. Elara grinned. "Always. There's still so much to discover out there." As they walked, they passed humans working alongside Zarkonians and even former Void Collective members, now in their new hybrid forms. The ship was a microcosm of the new galactic society. "You know," Elara said, pausing to look out at the stars, "when we first set out, I thought we were just exploring space. But we ended up exploring what it means to be human, to be alive." Clara's scales shimmered in agreement. "And in doing so, you've changed the course of galactic history. Your species' adaptability, your creativity, your capacity for growth. These are the qualities that made you the key to unlocking the artifact's power." Elara nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of possibility. "And now, those same qualities will guide us as we face whatever challenges lie ahead." As the Odyssey prepared to depart, Elara took her place on the bridge. Her crew, a diverse mix of humans and aliens, looked to her with respect and anticipation. "Captain," Raj said from his station, "new course is laid in. Where to?" Elara smiled, looking out at the vast expanse of space before them. "Everywhere, Lieutenant. We're going everywhere." With a command from Elara, the Odyssey leaped into faster-than-light travel, carrying humanity's spirit of exploration and cooperation to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The echoes of humanity's first steps into the cosmic community would resonate for generations to come, a testament to the power of understanding, adaptation, and unity in the face of the unknown.